Now, let's turn to a demonstration of how the activities and stories work and guidance on how to structure your reading volunteering sessions. As explained earlier, in addition to providing stories for practicing reading and fluency skills, we also provide students with activities and word games designed to build their knowledge of words and word parts. You can fit these in between stories to break up reading, or offer children a chance to do them before you say goodbye for the week. While we have suggestions about the time you could spend on each activity, do remember that this is not set in stone. Feel free to experiment with what works best for you and the child you're supporting. The first activity in the sequence is flashcards. We recommend you spend 5 minutes at the beginning of your session on flashcards. Flashcards has two functions. It gives children the opportunity to test their knowledge of words that follow similar sound patterns, decodable words, and it helps them to practice sight words. Both are learned skills that will help increase reading proficiency. When you started your session, you will have noted the numerical level 2 to 5 that is appropriate for your pupil for flashcards. If your pupil masters flashcards at that level, feel free to move them to the next level. If you need to change this level, you can do so using the pencil icon in the yellow box in the purple banner. You'll notice that the platform divides flashcards into two types: sounds and tricky words. Sound flashcards are designed to help pupils practice recognizing, saying, and blending sounds, also known as phonemes, in words that they can decode or sound out. For example, the three individual sounds k, a, t in the decodable word cat. Tricky word flashcards help pupils practice common words that cannot be sounded out or don't match the child's sound knowledge yet. Children need to learn these words by sight. Feel free to move between the two flashcard tabs during your reading session. There are lots of sounds and words to choose from depending on your child's flashcard level. Let's talk about sound flashcards first. As you may remember, Chapter 1 flashcards and activities are organised according to levels of difficulty from 2 to 5. These broadly correspond to the order in which sounds are taught in phonics lessons in schools. Children are taught simple, common sounds first, for example, the a in at or the I in pin, and then, as they progress, teachers gradually introduce alternative pronunciations for these sounds. For example, the short I in tip is pronounced differently to the long I in time, and the latter is taught later. We will use Level 2 to explain how flashcards work on our platform. Don't forget, if you need a refresher, directions are always available and can be expanded and closed as needed. First, select a letter or group of letters from the black tiles in the lower part of the screen. Words starting with or containing that sound will display in the grey box. Notice the first word is highlighted purple. This word will immediately be visible to your pupil. Ask your child to read you this word. They may need help sounding out the word. Remember that the word might contain individual sound phonemes, digraphs, 2 letters making one sound, like ch, or trigraphs, 3 letters making a sound, like I. Once they have sounded a word out, it's important to ask the child to blend the sounds together so the word is read smoothly and fluently. If your pupil struggles with this, use the I do, we do, you do technique to build their confidence. First, you sound out and then blend the word. Then, you and your pupil sound out and blend the word together. And finally, your pupil sounds out and blends the word alone. You may feel your pupil needs additional practice, or it would be helpful to see the sound used in a sentence. Most sounds at the lower levels have captions that include the sound or word. Click on the instruction in the captions box in order to see a caption. As soon as you do this, the caption will be visible to your pupil. You can read the caption to them first or ask them to read it to you. If there is more than one practice caption, you will see small arrows that will allow you to move between them. This caption functionality is not available at levels 4 and 5. You will also notice that level 4 is organised a little differently to the other levels and uses practice sets of words rather than individual sound tiles. This helps children consolidate the sounds they've learnt at level 2 and 3 by using them in longer words which have lots of consonants. As your pupil reads the words in the grey box, you can mark the practice set of words green or red based on the child's knowledge of the words. If a child can read all the words in the box, click the green button. This will mark the sound tile or practice set green. If you think that the sound or practice set needs more work, click the red button and the sound tile or practice set will turn red. The platform will remember this for your next session. The child will not see this assessment, it's just visible to you. All they will see is the words or captions that you click on. When marking sounds green or red, the goal is for your pupil to read all the words in the practice set before marking that sound green. It's up to you to determine if your pupil has sufficiently mastered a sound level. Please note, in all levels of sound flashcards, our platform does not have the ability for you to mark individual words as green or red. You need to make the judgment at the sound level. Now, let's talk about tricky words in flashcards. As explained earlier, these are specific words that children need to learn by sight and are displayed in groups according to level. You can simply click on a word and it will immediately be visible to your pupil. You can mark each word as known or unknown using the green and red buttons. The platform will remember this for your next session. Again, your pupil will not see this assessment. To confirm your student has received the flashcard you sent, watch for the Sending to and Received by prompt. This feature is available for every activity and will help you gauge when the student can see the material you sent. The next activity in the series is stories. Reading stories out loud is the most important thing your student will do, as it's where he or she gets a chance to practice. You should ideally spend 15 to 20 minutes of your session each week reading stories, but each child will be different, and some may not be able to concentrate on reading for that long earlier in the year. When you're ready to read stories, click on Stories from the left menu. The story level or colour that your child is reading at will always be displayed on the yellow box in the purple banner. As we explained earlier, you should feel free to change this as the child progresses. Teachers may also update levels, and if they do, you will notice the child's level has changed when you next log on. The stories that you select will be visible in rows on both your screen and on the student's screen. Have fun with your pupil choosing which story they want to read and guessing what they might be about. The student can tell you which book he or she would like to read by giving you the number next to the book title or describing the picture. You will select that story and your pupil can begin reading. Let's take a look at a typical story and make sure it's clear what you do and what your pupil will see. When you choose a story from the library, the child will see the title page of that story on their screen. Often the names of the author and illustrator are also displayed here. These can be complicated words, so you may wish to read these to your pupil. Please note that this title page may also contain a challenge word. This is a word that the child will not know how to decode or sound out at their reading level. Please read this word out to your pupil and discuss its meaning with them. Now it's time to move into the story. While you can advance the stories forward using the arrow keys, your pupil will not have that option and can only see the page number. You might decide to look through or walk through the whole book with your pupil before reading it. You can mention some of the key or challenge words and give them a sense of the story before they read it, which can boost the confidence of early or reluctant readers. Do remember to use the pictures in each story too. When you start to read each page, you can help your pupil prepare to read by asking them to look at the picture and describe what they think the story is about or what might happen next. You may also want to take turns reading with your pupil if they often struggle. You could alternate reading each page. This is a good way of taking the pressure off and modelling fluent, expressive reading. As you read, you may want your student to focus on a particular word. You can do this in two ways. First, you can click on a word on your screen, which will highlight the word on the child's view of the page. Or you can show that word to your student by typing it in the message box. For example, if your student is struggling with the word sing, you can type the word or its individual letters in the message student box and send that word to your student. Remind them to sound it out using their phonics, but don't hesitate to give them the word if they seem stuck. When you send the word to your pupil in this way, it will appear for them as if spoken by a small owl in the top left of the screen. Asking them what the owl is saying is a good way to check they can see the word that you've sent. It can be hard for children to concentrate only on reading stories for a full 30 minutes. That's why our platform also contains 5 word activities that you can choose to use with your pupil. You'll find that your child will develop firm favourites and enjoy beating you. It's up to you whether you use these at the end of the session before you say goodbye or in between stories to mix things up a little. The games are Word Sort, 3 in a Row, Mystery Word, Word World, and the Whiteboard. What follows is a brief look at each game. To view step-by-step instructions, see the Directions sidebar on each page. In the Word Sort activity, students will practice sorting words based on their word endings. This is great practice for students learning how to sound out words. As the reading volunteer, you will select the word from the list of 9 words you'll see above coloured boxes. Your student will see the same word on screen, but will only see one word, not the menu that you have. Ask your student where the word belongs based on the word ending. Once you click on the appropriate box, the word will populate and the student will see the same word on their screen. Once all the words have been placed in a box, draw your student's attention to the similarities of the words, then ask your student to read the words in each box. 3 in a Row is a favourite activity for many students. This additional exposure to words will help encourage fluent reading and word identification. When you're ready to begin, determine who will be a cross and who will be a naught. Notice each box has a word. Your pupil can see the same words as you. When your student selects a box, ask them to read the word. If they get it correct, place a cross or a naught in the box. You and your student will try to be the first to get 3 crosses or naughts in a row up, down, across, or diagonally. When you place a cross or a naught in the box, your student will see the same thing on their screen. Mystery Word is a fun way of learning vocabulary and will help students remember the spelling of new words. To begin, think of a word or use one of the suggested words found on the right side of your screen. The student cannot see these words. When you have a word in mind, click on the number of letters of the word. Your student will see the same number of blank spaces on their screen. As your student begins to guess letters, click on the letter on the keyboard. This will highlight that letter for both you and your student. Please put your cursor on the appropriate line and select the letter using your computer keyboard. Your student will see each letter on their screen. You may find your student needs a little help getting started with this activity. Consider filling in the first letter or offering a clue to help your student guess the word. Word World is a fun way for pupils to practice spelling and word patterns. To play, spin the wheel to begin. A word will appear on your screen, but the pupil will not see the word. The spinner will stop on a letter, which will populate on the pupil's screen. Click No to continue spinning until there are enough letters for the pupil to guess what the word might be, or until the pupil can read the word on the screen. Click Yes to show a new word, and play the game again. The words generated by Word World are random, and some can be a little hard for lower level readers, so you may want to wait until later in the year to play this game. The whiteboard simulates a magnetic board and is great for practicing spelling, difficult words, or making up fun sentences. It's also a great activity to extend proficient readers or when you have exhausted the flashcards. Type a word or phrase in the field at the bottom of the screen. When you click Submit Word, your student will see the same word or phrase on their screen. You can also move words and phrases around by dragging anywhere on the board. Why not make up a story together each week? Remember, you will always have a chance to practice activities prior to your session using the Practice Reading Volunteering tool that we covered in the first training. Please also remember that if, during your session, you want a visual reminder of what a child should be seeing during an activity, which would then enable you to verbally confirm with them what they're actually seeing on their end, you can click on the small square screen icon just next to the child info link at the top of the page. This will enable a pop-up window which will be the representation of what a child should be seeing. If they tell you verbally that they're seeing something different, then please reach out to chat support.